Hey, I'm Jake. I make RPG supplements and videos about Pathfinder 2, or PF2. I love this system, and I want to share everything I'm excited about with you, especially with the remaster. Today I'm going to hit general highlights of the remaster, and then I'm going to go into a few class-specific things if I have time. If not, it'll be a separate video. Okay, so I want to say generally that they organized this better, and there's like a menu bar on the right that makes it really clear where you are and how to get to everywhere else. It's really way more convenient. It's just easier to understand flipping through the book. Now, I'm the kind of person that reads the book cover to cover and then keeps referring back to it, so I know where it is based on where I am just because I've been there so many times. But especially for new people, this is really good. And since we're already on the page, let's talk about death. Specifically the dying and recovery checks. This is supposedly a rules clarification, not a change. But people are kind of just ignoring this or being pissed about it. So I'm gonna read it to you and see what you think. Recovery checks. While you're dying, attempt a recovery check at the start of each of your turns. This is a flat check with a DC equal to 10 plus your current dying value to see if you get better or worse. Critical success, your dying value is reduced by 2. Great. That's also the same. Success, your dying value is reduced by 1. Also the same. Failure, your dying value increases by 1 plus your wounded value, if any. That's different. I'm gonna read it again. Failure, your dying value increases by 1 plus your wounded value, if any. That sucks. Critical failure, your dying value increases by 2 plus your wounded value, if any. So, if you go down once, you better not go down again, because you're gonna die. Especially if you have persistent damage. Save up at least one of those hero points to save your ass, because you'll need it. I'm gonna try to convince my group, if any of you are watching, to do this. Actually, I don't know, because we're playing the Slithering, and the fights are really hard as they are. No, okay, so I'm not gonna do this right now. But maybe when I'm out of the Slithering, then my group is gonna do it. If anybody plays the Slithering or is thinking about it, holy crap, those oozes hit like a freight train. Think about what you're doing before you set up the adventure or the fights. Anyway, give me your thoughts on the recovery checks or the dying condition. How many of you are going to go by these severer rules? I like the idea because it's more dramatic. It matters more when you go down. Like, people rush to your aid because they freaking have to. Tell me what you think. Alright, now I'm gonna go over to general, just like, information. So, there are now runes for shields. Cool. There weren't before, didn't make any sense. There are now. Great. Sort of closed a gap in functionality of the system. Recall knowledge has changed in that you are now prompted to ask questions. There are examples of questions of what kind to ask, but you're going to be asking specific, detailed questions instead of, okay, GM, what do I know with my nature check? I kind of like it because it's just easier to figure out. That's what they did with a lot of this book. Their remaster was really just, let's help the people understand this better. Which is really good. In most cases, it's just better. I still hate the witch familiar thing. You lose your familiar or you lose your hexes. Stupid. Obviously, I care about witches. I'm trying to do like general coverage and I still go back to witches. Alright. The reposition action in combat exists now, which means that you grab your opponent and drag them away. It's not repositioning yourself. It's really just like a push that goes a different direction. So you still have to roll a similar check. It's athletics. Because you're grappling. Reposition. I'm going to read it to you. Because I can. Requirements. It has the attack trait. It takes one action. Requirements. You either have at least one hand free, or you're grabbing or restraining the target. That makes sense. The target can't be more than one size larger than you. But it can be a size larger than you. So you can drag ogres around the battlefield. That's cool. You muscle a creature or object around. Attempt an athletics check against the target's fortitude DC. Critical success, you move the creature up to 10 feet. It must remain within your reach during this movement, and you can't move it into or through obstacles. Pause. We don't really get clear definition of what an obstacle is in this book, but it doesn't seem to... It doesn't say anywhere that creatures are obstacles, so I'm just going to assume they're not. They would specify creatures, and if they didn't, it's their fault, and I'm going to use it as it says. So they're going to be physical obstacles that you can't move people through. Reposition. Success. You move the target up to 5 feet. It must remain within your reach during this movement, and you can't move it into or through obstacles. Same as before. Critical failure. The target can move you up to 5 feet as though it successfully repositioned you. This is really just going to be for melee types, obviously. For better tactics in combat, usually just to flank people to make them more off guard. But it's nice that they put something in there for it, because people were confused about how you shove somebody sideways. It made sense to me to just use the same rules, to just push people different directions. But now we have clarification. That's good. Disarm. Disarm has been very slightly modified. It still isn't great, but it is actually a little bit more useful now. Disarm. One action. It's an attack. Requirements. You have at least one hand free. The target can't be more than one size larger than you. You try to knock an item out of a creature's grasp. Attempt an athletics check against the target's reflex DC. Critical success. You knock the item out of the target's grasp. It falls to the ground in the target's space. Success. You weaken your target's grasp on the item. Further attempts to disarm the target of that item gain a +2 circumstance bonus, and the target takes a -2 circumstance penalty to attacks with the item or other checks requiring a firm grasp on the item. This is the part that's changed. The creature can end the effect by interacting to change its grip on the item, otherwise it lasts as long as the creature holds the item. Not just until the beginning of the next turn. Which sucked. It's actually useful now. Granted, it's still not great. You still have to critically succeed to knock it out of their hand, but now, if you at least succeed, it'll at least cost them an action. It doesn't just expire. And the critical failure is the same. Much better. Makes way more sense, at least, to want to use it in combat, because aside from really specific builds, you just couldn't use it. Aid has been altered. The DC went down by 5. That's it. Flat 5 less. So it's always easier to aid people, which is good because at lower levels is when you try to aid people. Next general thing is focus points. They just revamped them and made them easier. So you have one focus point in your focus pool for each focus spell that you have, unless it's more than 3, then you're restricted to 3. You can also recover one focus point if you take a 10-minute break refocusing, and there's no limit on that there was before. So if you just used 2 focus spells, you can get both of them back now instead of just 1. At 12th level, you can take a feat that lets you get all of them back in 10 minutes, which I don't really see people would take, because if your GM is willing to work with you and not require that, then it doesn't matter. You can be given plenty of time between fights to do all 3. Is 30 minutes versus 10 minutes. If you have more than a minute, you probably have 30. Whatever. Crafting time requirement has been reduced so that it can take as little as 1 day now if you have the formula and you're willing to pay the cost of the item, instead of 4 minimum. Way more useful for adventurers. I'm still not going to run it this way, because it still sucks to have to take a day out of your adventure for adventurers to craft a potion or something, or more arrows. It's dumb. I know it's not sensical to have people just roll a check, spend some money, and poof, they have arrows. But I don't care. We can say that they've been working on them the whole time so that we can get back to the adventure, especially in adventures where there's a reason to go do a thing. There's time constraints. In character, your character wouldn't want to just be you know what, screw this whole town full of people being turned into slimes, I'm gonna make a potion. Yeah, more people are dying while I do it, but I have a skill for this, so I have to. Freaking dumb. Yeah. 2 points to make about Ancestries. One, they have specifically spelled out in the rules that you can have a mixed blood ancestry, so you count as having multiple ancestries. So it's easier to take those ancestry feats, which is great, especially for my builds. I always had to sacrifice a general feat to get a cross ancestry feat that fit the theme. Don't have to do that anymore. Just say, yep, he's also got dragon blood in him, and hag, and medusas, and harpies, and centaurs. He had a wild family history. I don't know. The Nephilim that they introduced, yes, they're better. Because they're easier to use, especially for new players. This is a better choice than having Aasimar and multiple subsets of Tiefling. However, they removed the one ability I like to be able to hide your demonic parts. I just liked that, so for me, that feat still exists. I don't care what the Nephilim says. So tell me what you thought in the comments. Feel free to bitch at me or just say things that other people haven't been talking about so we can have a good conversation about it. I love doing so. Don't eat my microphone. He doesn't care what he eats. He just eats. No. Hey, no. Thank you for joining me today. I am thankful for your help in making this channel run and for your kind words in the comments, or even those of you who are not kind and you still make comments, because I still get to respond to comments and it's fun. And thank you to my lovely patrons. Couldn't do this without you guys. I appreciate you. I release unique videos on Patreon and do giveaways, and the highest levels get one-on-one time with me and something unique made for them every month. The videos that are on Patreon are like sort of more drilled down subsets of the videos that I do. So check it out, description, link, whatever, go there. See if you want to join and help. That'd be cool if you do. If you like the video and you think I've earned it, give it a thumbs up to tell the algorithm gods that I just don't suck that much. And also, if you are interested in seeing more remaster stuff, which remaster video is here? And if you want to see builds, my most recent build at the time of this recording is a Swamp Hag Witch, which is not really changed much from the remaster. So, video there. Thank you for joining me. Toodaloo!